Welcome back, everybody. Now it's time for a grassroots citizen panel. Joining me in the studio is Melory Tsipouria. He is president of the U.S.-Georgia Friendship Association. What is that?
It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we're trying to help U.S.-Georgia get deeper friendship and contacts on all kinds of levels.
Okay, and of course, that's not Atlanta, Georgia. That's the Republic of Georgia.
Next to Ukraine, by the way.
Next to Ukraine. Also in the studio is the man with the hair so nice, only a mother could love it, or a liberal.
It's pretty epic.
He is liberal activist, columnist, reporter, Jonathan Harris. Jonathan, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing, Rick?
Doing good. I'm offended by your racist hairstyle.
A couple people have been,
Mohicans or Mohawks.
That's why I kept it. That's why I would have shaved it otherwise.
Do not wear it to a San Francisco Giant baseball game.
I could be kicked out. That's true.
That's right.
That's true.
All right, joining us from Washington, D.C. is the man on the street, videographer for the Media Research Center, Dan Joseph. Dan, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. It's getting really hot out here, but I think my hair looks pretty good considering.
It is racist, too. All right, so yeah, hot and humid in D.C. there. And Dan's at our makeshift studios. We're opening new studios in Washington, D.C. They're under construction. That's why you see that One America behind them. But welcome to our new studios there. All right, so
thank you.
Obviously, one of the key stories, important stories in the news right now, the U.S. officials are starting to lay out the case against Russia in the downing of the Malaysian airliner. Now, this is interesting. I want to start with Melory Tsipouria, president of the U.S.-Georgia Friendship Association. Of course, Vladimir Putin is saying, it's not me, it's not me. You know, it's those Ukrainians that did this, and here's all the evidence. We're gonna cooperate with you now after a week. It's those guys. Earlier in the show, national security expert Frank Gaffney laid out an historical perspective where the former Soviet Union shot down a plane of Polish officials, someone who they had wanted to remove from power in the first place because they were leaning west, and they blamed it on some sort of accident. You are from the Republic of Georgia, and you were telling us before the show the same thing has happened in your home country.
Just a little correction. Mr. Gaffney said not the former Soviet Union, but just recently, just a few years ago, when Putin was
I thought he said former Soviet Union. He said,
yes.
He said, so a few years ago.
A few years ago, yes. And up to 100 Polish officials, including the president and his wife, was killed. But in Georgia in early 90s, when Russia did a similar scenario, just like they did with Ukraine and Crimea, they took away Abkhazia and South Ossetia regions, and they shot down 2 civilian planes full of civilian refugees over the Black Sea, and they well, obviously Putin was at the helm then, but the point is still the same Russian politics. KGB then. Yes, and if it's not stopped, this kind of things will continue. At the time, there was no condemnation.
The year was what again on this?
1993.
All right.
And the 2 civilian planes full of civilian, refugees escaping from that regions. And at the time, they mentioned that they had obviously no involvement. Yet the missile came up from the Russian military ship.
Vladimir Putin's a thug. All right, and any I hate to say it, but it seems as if any Russian leader is a thug, but certainly Vladimir Putin. So we see this Polish downing of a civilian of government officials. What year was that?
About 3 years ago.
3 years ago. In your home country, the downing of civilian airliner, both instances, Russia brought it down. Both instances, they blame it on somebody else. And now we see this.
The whole point is, Rick, we are not doing enough to stop them.
Right.
And just recently, I brought this. It's from an announcement of tougher sanctions. It's a 3rd round of sanctions. But if you scroll down, it says it's protected. It's not involved the Gazprom, which is the #1 oil giant of Russia.
Right.
Now, if you are not hitting when it hurts, then how you expect your European allies to follow you?
Right.
So I think the more harsher sanctions are warranted and necessary to stop Putin. If we'll hit the Gazprom, if we'll hit where it hurts, which is the #1 money producer for Putin, this conflict could be resolved within a few weeks.
And Dan Joseph, it will not be resolved in a few weeks, but Europeans do not want to hit Russia where it hurts, the natural gas supply, because global environmentalists have pushed Europe off of using nuclear energy, the cleanest form of workable energy known to mankind. Because of that, they are now dependent upon Russia's natural gas supply. Care to weigh in on any of this?
Well, of course, and that makes... Yeah, no, this makes the whole thing much more complicated. You see right here, though, at the very least, the administration has been given a second chance at all this because of Putin's screw-up. You know, his dumb friends shot this plane out of the sky. Whether Putin had anything directly to do with it or not doesn't really matter, because all of a sudden the attention of the world is back on Putin, back on the Ukraine, and President Obama has a bipartisan Congress now calling for him to take serious action. Whether he will do that or not, that's anybody's guess, given this president's track record.
All right, let's shift gears here a moment. Now, I've been calling this administration and life in America today under this administration chaotic and sloppy. Nowhere is that more evident in the world of Obamacare. Well, maybe more so in the world of our border crisis. Yesterday, a court of appeals in Washington, D.C. found that the plain reading of Obamacare the court said Obamacare overreached on its subsidies, but a Virginia court said that the D.C. court was wrong in its findings. Jonathan Harris, what is there good about Obamacare? I mean, this whole thing is sloppy and chaotic.
It's a pretty great program. I mean, I know you and I disagree about that, but it's a pretty great program that's doing what it's been intended to do. It's expanding health care now to 10 million people. Yeah.
Is this an example of, let's say it is a great program. Let's say it is. I don't believe it is, but let's say.
You don't.
Isn't this an example of why the administration should have moved more slowly, more carefully, and more precise, instead of just jamming this thing down everyone's throat before they lost control of the House after the 2010
I don't think
elections?
that Republicans use that expression all the time. It wasn't jammed down anybody's throat. It was passed the same way any law is passed. It was passed because they had the majority, which meant the American people wanted us to have the majority. Liberals had the majority. We negotiated what we wanted it to be, and then it passed. This is all really contingent upon a typo. That's really what this is.
I beg to differ. It wasn't passed in normal ways. It was passed without reading 2,200 pages, and no wonder there's huge holes.
Why do you say that they didn't read it?
Well, Nancy Pelosi told us they didn't.
No, Nancy Pelosi didn't.
Said she didn't read it.
No, she didn't.
We have to pass the law before we found out what's in it.
That is what Republicans say all the time. That is not even kind of true. That's not even. No, what she said, she clarified what she meant was she was talking about the American people would have to know what was in it.
Stupid people.
I'm just saying that she did read it, and that's a common misinterpretation
the reality
of her
is,
statement.
look, the truth is that this is
You can look that up.
This is even really about Obamacare in a sense. This is really about what we've all been talking about, executive overreach and the inability of congressional lawmakers to even know what they're doing. They wrote this bill in a specific way. Several different times in the bill, it says this is supposed to be a state-run exchange. It says nothing about the federally run exchanges, and yet the Democratic Party thinks they can get away with it. I think this is going to be a very instructive court case for everybody at hand, because we're finally going to see that you just can't, lawmakers are going to have to learn that they're going to have to be specific in these bills. They're going to actually have to read the bills, and they're not just going to be able to pass these massive.
We have 3 rulings now in favor of this, and 1 that's not in favor.
Dan, does this ultimately go to the Supreme Court?
I've lost.
All right, we lost him there, I believe.
I hope it will. But there's so many holes. There's worse yet to come, and this is just nonstop.
Well, the Supreme Court's upheld it.
The comment I want to make is, let's say Jonathan Harris is wrong, but let's say he's right that Nancy Pelosi meant the American people.
I'm telling you, you can look it up. I promise. She clarified
I'm sure
the
she
statement.
said it later. But let me just say this: if that's accurate, it is symbolic of those on the left that people are too stupid to know what's best for them. That's why they need big government. So if Nancy Pelosi said we have to pass the bill that it was, I'm talking about the American people, those stupid people.
I think there is a lot of buyer's remorse now, and things are changing the way.
Actually, the public doesn't want to repeal Obamacare. You can check the polls.
We'll take a quick break right here. Before we go to a break, I just want to say this to our viewers at home. If you want to continue the conversation after the show with our panel and myself, then tweet me at Amato Talk and use the hashtag GRCP, hashtag GRCP as in Grassroots Citizen Panel. You can also use that same hashtag GRCP on the Rick Amato Show Facebook page. So if you want to keep the conversation going, interact with our guest and myself after the show, you can do so. All right, we're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We are in the middle of our Grassroots System panel. Again, like I said, if you want to join the conversation, you want to get involved with our panel members and myself on the Grassroots System panel, you can do so after the show by using the hashtag GRCP. Tweet me using Amato Talk. You can also use that same hashtag on the Rick Amato Show Facebook page. So if you want to keep the conversation going, you can do so. All right, let's continue with our panel. Just when you thought the IRS scandal could not get any worse, it do. So the IRS very own employee handbook says they are supposed to keep paper records of most email that they receive. In addition, we find, but that wasn't done in this case. In addition, we find out that 20 employees within the IRS that had frequent contact with Lois Lerner have also lost their email, their hard drive and their email. In addition, the top IRS official who frequently met with a top Obama official on a regular, frequent, not once a year, but regularly, guess what? Her email is missing. Dan Joseph, does this come back to be something that bites Democrats in November because it just stinks with impropriety?
Well, speaking of biting back Democrats, I just wanted to mention something from the last segment. The one who said they'd never read Obamacare, the first one to say it was Senator Max Baucus at the time, who was actually the guy who was supposed to be the architect of Obamacare. So it's even worse than Nancy Pelosi on that front when it comes to that law.
All right.
The IRS scandal, what it's doing is it's really, it's not only fomenting, I mean, I think it's been a little bit innocuous when it comes to the president himself. I think he's really avoided any damage from it, politically speaking. What I don't think is, I think it's actually damaging the idea of government bureaucracy to begin with. They can't find their hard drives, they can't find their emails, and yet these individuals are in charge of all my money. I mean, how do you say to somebody, oh, we're going to audit you? Wow. Maybe you shouldn't audit us. Maybe you should just make sure you didn't lose my tax receipts before you start auditing me. You know, this is the big one. This is the big scandal. And if you can get some of the mainstream media outlets to start reporting on it, we might be able to get to the bottom of it. Unfortunately, they don't seem to want to.
They don't seem to want to, but we had someone here yesterday, Melory, who, a legal analyst, who said, you know what, federal judges are now weighing in on this, and we may see a request, a demand for an independent investigation that does not come from the political parties, but instead the legal system, and that would be a severe blow to.
That's what I've been calling for weeks now, including on your show. We need an independent prosecutor. Looks like it's orchestrated effort, and it's like pulling the tooth. They are never gonna get to the bottom of it, especially with this DOJ. So we need an independent prosecutor.
Jonathan Harris, I know you don't think there's no there, but are you at least troubled or puzzled when you see everybody losing their email over there?
You'll probably be surprised about this. We had a moment like this, I probably think like 8 or 9 months ago, where I agreed with you completely.
Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell.
Write this date down. There's something really bizarre and questionable about all of a sudden you've lost an unbelievable amount of your emails and the people that you're associated with as well. That is extremely questionable. I don't think it's going to hurt President Obama. It doesn't have anything to do with him. Yeah. But as it relates to the IRS and Lois Lerner, that is, I mean, that's a little...
No, and the other point is...
questionable at least.
President Obama didn't learn about it until he saw it on the news. That's the other point here. Of course, it wasn't One American News. It was probably MSNBC, but that's where he heard about it.
At least it's... well, I thought we were referring to Fox News. I had a Fox News jab all ready to go, and I couldn't even use it.
He was watching Al Sharpton and Rachel Maddow. And
well, when did Bush find out about Katrina? Did he find out on the news too? It seems like it. I don't know. He didn't seem to get around to it till later.
Right.
It took him less time to go to see Katrina damage than it took Obama to go see the border. When did he go see the border?
And then he said heck of a job about
he hasn't.
Too.
That's right.
Why does he need to go see the border? Can you tell me why he needs to see the border? Why does he need to see the border?
Why did George W. Bush go to see Katrina? What was he going to do? Pass out life preservers to people?
So we've got kids being intercepted by the Health and Human Services Department, and we have dead bodies floating in the street, and only to a Republican are those the same. Yeah. If we need to go see those, I mean,
Jonathan,
are you equating the two?
Jonathan, Dan, let me
So
jump
you
in.
don't even think this is a crisis,
No,
right? You don't even think this is a crisis that the American president has to deal with. The American president is going to have to make a decision as to what happens down there. He should know firsthand what's going on and not be going to 4 fundraisers in the same state where it's happening.
But see, the Health and Human Services Department, according to a Bush-signed law, is handling this. He doesn't need to go down there and look at it.
We all know how competent the Health and Human Services Department is, don't we?
He doesn't need to go down and look at it. They're intercepting these people, but only a Republican would equate that with Hurricane Katrina.
The point is the American people need to see a leader who they think is on the problem.
But see, he is on the problem.
He is on the Jonathan,
right now, they don't.
Let me interject. Dan, what I love about what Jonathan just said is he just exposed to America, our viewing audience, how it is that some people on the left think.
And that's how.
And that's the conclusion he came at, and I think it's important for all Americans to see.
Obama doesn't want to go down there. I mean, I don't blame Obama politically for not wanting to go down.
Perhaps he should take the Rick Perry approach and send troops down there to intercept these big, bad, dangerous kids that are fleeing violence. That's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Mr. Harris, there are 100,000 illegal immigrants who are gang members in the state of Texas. So don't just dismiss it.
We're talking, this crisis primarily is about the children and the families that are escaping violence that are coming here to seek refuge, and they can because of Republicans. That's my favorite part, is you don't like it, and it's your fault. That's the brilliant part.
Well,
and then if he didn't follow that law,
they think they
you'd
can
say that
because
he
of the
wasn't
Dream Act.
following the
They
law.
think they can come in here because President Obama, they were all saying, oh, now we can stay because President Obama has the Dream Act.
Specifically said if you came, you'd be sent back. You're wrong again, but thank you for trying.
Let me jump in. One more point. Melory, you are an immigrant to America from Georgia, but you also lived in Mexico for 11 years.
I'm very much familiar with the situation and some of the details. You mentioned about equating with Katrina. Do you know for every 50,000 child how many dies during the crossing?
No, of course. I mean, of course I know how many are crossing.
It's not as similar as far as its weight.
It's not similar as far as saying that the president needs to go down to the border because the dead bodies are not floating around the border.
Because he's a Democrat.
No, it's because that's absurd.
He needs to go down to the border to prove that he's
Republicans being desperate to try to equate everything that Obama does with everything that Bush did wrong.
When Mr. Obama issued executive order and stopped deportation up to 1 million immigrants, that was an invitation for those children to come over.
No, it wasn't.
50,000
he has one of the highest deportation rates on record. No, it was not. They are telling them that so that they can traffic them over here. The president has been very clear that they will be sent back if they come over. Incorrect.
We don't want to be like MSNBC and not show you the opposite point of view. That's why we bring on Jonathan Harris.
MSNBC is great.
All right. I want to thank our panel members, Jonathan Harris, columnist, reporter, liberal activist, the guy with the fancy hairdo. I want to thank Melory Tsipouria, president of U.S.-Georgian Friendship Association, and Dan Joseph, man on the street videographer for the Media Research Center. Guys, thanks for being part of our Grassroots Citizen panel. And I want to thank you, our viewers, for watching. We're right back at you again tomorrow night, same time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific.